Do you remember the black boy who was abandoned by his parents? This is how his life turned out 20 years later. Ulrich was born in a remote West African village with a severe leg deformity that left his knees dramatically dislocated. His condition shocked his community, leading to whispers of curses and doubts about whether he would ever walk. More challenging than his physical disability, however, was the emotional hardship. Ulrich was abandoned by both parents. His father disappeared before he was born, unable to face the situation, while his mother, Georgette, initially tried to care for him. Overwhelmed by poverty and the cost of treatment, she too eventually gave up, leaving Ulrich to face life alone from a very young age. When Ulrich was about 2 years old, Georgette made a decision that would alter the course of his life. She left him under the care of her aging mother in a neighboring village, taking off in search of work in the city. In her eyes, it was a temporary sacrifice, so she could earn enough money to pay for Ulrich's treatment. But as time stretched on, her visits became infrequent. Eventually, contact stopped altogether. Ulrich was too young to comprehend what was happening, but the result was that he grew up feeling alone, first without a father, and then without the consistent presence of his mother. Despite being abandoned by his parents, Ulrich was lovingly raised by his grandmother, who did everything she could to give him a normal life. Born with severely deformed legs, Ulrich had to crawl or use handmade walking sticks to get around. His resilience and creativity earned him the nickname the Cricket, a nod to his unique way of moving. Determined to live like other children, he helped with chores, endured physical pain without complaint, and eagerly joined social events. Though often stared at or ridiculed, Ulrich remained optimistic and dreamed of one day standing and walking like the other boys. Over the years, several traveling doctors visited the region, offering consultations. Ulrich's grandmother would bring him in, hoping each time to hear good news. Quick pause here. If this story's grabbing your interest, tap like and subscribe. It really helps me keep bringing you these tales. They all agreed that surgery was necessary to correct his knees, but the cost and complexity were too high. Most local clinics lacked the facilities for such a procedure, and the specialists simply shook their heads, explaining that it was beyond their capability to help. Ulrich learned early on that hope was sometimes met with disappointment. Still, his spirit remained unbroken. If no doctor around could help him, maybe there was another solution yet to be discovered. By the time Ulrich turned 12, he was painfully aware of how his condition affected his social standing. He was teased frequently by children who didn't understand that disabilities could happen to anyone. Some adults treated him with kindness, offering him extra food out of pity, while others averted their eyes, too uncomfortable or unsure to engage. His grandmother was his rock, urging him to stay strong, and while she tried to protect him from feeling abandoned, he couldn't help but wonder if either of his parents would ever return. Everything changed when word spread about a hospital called Mercy Ships that was docking in a major port several hours away. The ship was known for offering free surgeries to those who had little or no means to pay. Through the kindness of a local pastor, Ulrich and his grandmother learned that children with severe orthopedic problems could be treated there. It was like a beacon of hope in a dark sea. Ulrich and his grandmother made a difficult journey to the medical ship, relying on the kindness of strangers along the way. There, volunteer doctors, including renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. Frank, agreed to take on Ulrich's rare and complex case. His knees were severely dislocated and his muscles too tight to allow normal movement, requiring multiple stage surgeries. Despite the risks, his grandmother eagerly consented, hopeful for a better future. After the first long surgery, Ulrich awoke to see his legs straighter than ever, moved to tears by the change. With each surgery and therapy session, he showed incredible determination, slowly learning to stand on his own for the first time. For the first time, he could place his feet squarely on the ground. While the casts and braces were heavy, he never once complained, choosing instead to smile at each milestone, like taking a few careful steps or standing upright on his own. When he wobbled and threatened to fall, The team was at his side, encouraging him, reminding him that every small victory was a step toward a new life. The day he managed to walk across the hospital ward unassisted was a day that brought tears to more than a few eyes. Ulrich's grandmother lifted her arms in joy, and in that moment, Ulrich walked right into her embrace. They'd been waiting for that hug at eye level for over a decade. In gratitude, Ulrich handed his old weathered walking sticks to Dr. Frank as a gift. "I don't need these anymore," he said, his voice shaking with pride. Following months of rehabilitation on the ship, Ulrich was discharged with a new posture, a new gait, and a new chance at life. Mercy Ships arranged for him to continue physical therapy at a clinic closer to his village. The staff there helped teach him more advanced exercises, climbing stairs, navigating uneven terrain, and building the muscle strength he had never had before. His grandmother was overjoyed to see him standing tall, helping with chores, and ultimately joining other children in a pickup soccer game for the first time. Yet, even after returning home, one question lingered in Ulrich's mind. Would his mother ever come back? And what of his father? Had he survived, or did he still live somewhere far away? For many years, there was silence on that front. Through his teenage years, Ulrich devoted himself to his studies. He discovered a passion for medicine, likely spurred on by the extraordinary care he'd received aboard the hospital ship, and decided he wanted to become a nurse or a physical therapist one day, to help children facing the same struggles he had endured. Astonishingly, news of his recovery spread throughout the region. Some distant relatives got word of the boy who could walk again. Eventually, that word even reached Ulrich's mother, who by then had married someone else and settled in a city many miles away. When she finally arrived one day, trembling with guilt and uncertain if her son would even recognize her, Ulrich greeted her with careful calm. He was no longer the small child with bent legs, powerless and timid. He was now a strong young man with a quiet confidence. While their reunion was emotional, Ulrich made it clear that he harbored no resentment. He had found a life path and purpose despite her absence, and although the wounds of abandonment still ached, he believed in forgiveness. Now, 20 years after that pivotal surgery on the Mercy Ship's vessel, Ulrich stands as a testament to resilience and perseverance. In his mid-20s, he works at a regional hospital, assisting in physical therapy sessions. Patients, especially children with orthopedic issues, look at him with wide eyes. Many cannot believe that the tall man with the ready smile was once unable to stand. He's become an advocate for accessible medical care, traveling occasionally with volunteer groups to remote villages, offering hope to families who feel trapped by circumstances they cannot control. As for his parents, Ulrich's father remains out of contact, and the details of his life remain a mystery. Ulrich's mother visits from time to time, attempting to rebuild a relationship that was lost for so many years. While the scars of abandonment will never fully vanish, Ulrich's heart is filled more with gratitude than bitterness. "I've learned," he often says, "that we can't choose how our story begins, but we can choose where it goes from here." He remains close to his grandmother, the woman who never gave up on him. She still lives in the same village, though now in a slightly better home that Ulrich helped build with his own hands. The old walking sticks she once made are nowhere to be found. He left them behind on the Mercy Ship's vessel all those years ago. In their place is a walking cane that stands in a corner of her home, unused, a symbol of what might have been if fate had not intervened. Today, Ulrich's life is far from what anyone would have predicted when he was born. He's active, healthy, and, above all, hopeful. Those who knew him as the Cricket Boy barely recognize the confident professional who stands before them now, clad in a crisp uniform and offering comfort to the sick. So, do you remember the black boy who was abandoned by his parents and struggled with dislocated legs? His story did not end in misery or defeat. It became a shining example of how love, Faith and the generosity of strangers can break the chains of even the darkest circumstances. 20 years after his life-changing surgeries, Ulrich walks proudly and upright into a future he has molded with his own hands, proving that sometimes the most incredible transformations spring from the darkest chapters of our lives.